Today we are talking about Teval the Balanced Scale, and this is probably the most unbalanced commander we have had out of a precon ever. So, let's do this. Teval the Balanced Scale is 1 black, green, and a blue for a legendary creature spirit dragon that's a 4/4. Flying. Whenever Teval attacks, mill 3 cards, then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. So why is Teval so busted? And it's all there on the card. He's a 4/4 flyer which can beat people down pretty easily. We've got evasion. He self-mills and also ramps you at the same time spitting out tokens, which starts to spiral out of control pretty darn quickly. We also have to acknowledge the fact that we're in Sultai colours, so graveyard-centric reanimation type strategies are just so easily done here, and we can slot in so many of the cards that essentially would be a commander in their own right, and they just fit so sweetly here in the 99s. I'm going to break this deck down and show you why it's busted. So starting things off with our Landfall, our bread and butter section of the deck, what we want to make sure we've got it in our hand at any one point. So we've got Hedron Crab, Bloodghast, Druid Class, Lotus Cobra, Sky's Clave Shade, Mossborn Hydra, Scoot Swarm, Tireless Provisioner, Tireless Tracker, Tachi Everbented Drake, Zendikal's Royal, AC Tyrant of Gaia Strait, and Rampaging Balos. So you can see where we're going. We're going to attack with Teval. We're going to mill 3 cards, we're going to get land back straight to the battlefield. Zendikar's Royal and Rampaging Balos both make tokens along with Teval. We've got Tireless Provisioner and Tireless Tracker to enable us to draw more cards, get some sustainability, gain life, things like that, and also ramp further. Scoot Swarm is just an absolute monster in a Landfall deck. Mossborn Hydra is quite good as well, gives us a tall threat with Trample. We've got Skyclave Shade and Bloodghast as well, so whenever a land enters we can get that back from our graveyard, which will then trigger Teval again. Obviously Hedron Crab just lets us mill more, Lotus Cobra just lets us ramp more. This whole strategy just lets us do more and more and more of what Teval wants to do. So this is why I think Landfall is the best way forward for Teval. On to card draw. We've got 7 cards in this section, not loads, and that's mostly because we are using our graveyard as a second hand, so we'll always have access to more cards and ways to get those cards out of the graveyard, so that is essentially more card advantage for this deck. We've got Teval's Judgment, Uro, Chemist's Insight, Deep Analysis, River Kelpie, Tachi Everbented Druid, and AC Tyrant of Gaia Strength. So Tachi Over and AC, as I already mentioned, whenever a land enters, they're going to enable us to draw more cards. Chemist's Insight, Deep Analysis, these are 2 fantastic cards in this deck because if we draw them, we can cast them and then recast them again from our graveyard, making a 2/2, but if we mill them, they're not dead cards in a graveyard, we can still cast them from our graveyard. Same with the Uro of Titan's Wrath. It enters, gains us life, draws us cards, we can then ramp as well. Once again, all the things we want to be doing in this deck. It goes to the graveyard, we can use the escape mechanic to get it back out, and then obviously Teval's Judgment, whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn, we're going to draw a card, we're going to create a treasure, or we're going to make some more tokens with 2/2 Black Zombie Druids, which is, once again, everything that our commander wants us to be doing. River Kelpie as well, whenever a permanent enters the battlefield from our graveyard, we're going to draw a card, which is obviously going to be our lands. Great card draw that synergizes with what the deck wants. So how are we filling our graveyard? We're going to fill it with Dredge. Yeah, we've got Dakmor Salvage, Golgari Thug, Life from the Loam, Shambling Shell, and Stinkweed Imp. Dakmor Salvage has great combo potential with the Gitrog monster. I'll put a link down to those combo lines below. Golgari Thug, whenever it dies, we put a creature from our graveyard on top of our library, triggering Teval. Obviously it has Dredge 4, we're going to dredge the 4, then return this to a hand, triggering Teval. We've got Life from the Loam, which lets us get more lands out. The Dredge, once that comes back out, will trigger Teval. The lands will come in, trigger all our Landfall abilities once we play them. Shambling Shell, which says sacrifice Shambling Shell, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, so we can make something bigger if we want to, get this killed whenever we want, and then we can put it back into our graveyard to always make sure we can dredge. And we've got Stinkweed Imp, which is just a flying creature. It's got the old school text for Death Touch, plus it has Dredge 5. Dredge is just made for this deck. Just does everything we want to do. Triggers Teval, gets cards in graveyard. Just want to quickly say thank you very much for watching this far into the video. If you're enjoying yourself, please consider hitting that that thumbs up button. And yeah, if you want to see more content like this, I make content like this pretty much every week. So deck text, how to build decks, all that type of stuff. Hit the subscribe button and you'll get notified of it when that next one comes out. And yeah, if you've got any suggestions for cards that should go in the Teval deck that I've missed, drop them down in the comments below. Share that knowledge so everybody's aware for when they are building their own decks. Because if everybody's a better deck builder, we'll all have better games. Anyway, Let's carry on, shall we? So how are we going to get more lands onto the battlefield and trigger all of our landfall abilities? Well, we're going to use the following 12 cards. We've got Crop Rotation, Exploration, Aftermath Analysis, Druid Clash, Rite of the Reliquary, Zeus the Lost But Seeking, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Erinis Gloomstalker, Random Nap Excavator. We've got 6 Conduit of Worlds and the Gitrogue Monster. Gitrogue Monster, obviously I told you his fantastic combo lines with Dakmor Salvage. Whenever a land card is put into our graveyard from anywhere, we're going to draw a card, which is fantastic, especially when we've got Dredge type mechanics. We've got Conduit of World, which lets us play cards from the graveyard or lands from the graveyard, same as Rune Up Excavator. Conduit of the World also allows us to reanimate our key thing, so if Teval has died a couple of times, we can then put him in a graveyard and get him back without paying the commander text. We've got 6 and Erinis, which allow us when we attack to return a land from our graveyard to the battlefield or to our hand. 6 obviously gives us retrace as well, so if we're flooded with lands in our hand, we can bin them to recast things. Got Dryad and Azusa to get multiple land drops per turn. A Dryad obviously also colour fixes. Rite of the Reliquary and Crop Rotation are basically our land tutors to go and get our very key specific cards that we need in order to push for victory. Exploration, more land drops per turn. Aftermath Analysis, it just lets us, it mills 3 cards when it enters, and obviously it lets us get all of our lands out of our graveyard in one big chunk. So we've got a lovely piece of protection in this deck with Sylvan Safekeeper, sacrifice land, target creature gains Shroud until end of turn. So you can't target it, nobody else can target it. Lovely, protects all of our key pieces because most of our key pieces are creatures. The other thing we need to use this card for as well, if you don't have any lands in hand, but you don't have any lands in the graveyard either, you can tap your lands for mana, float the mana, sacrifice them, give a bunch of things shrouds, put them in the graveyard, replay them from your graveyard using Teval's ability or any of the other abilities that we've just mentioned, and that's it. Get all your landfall triggers all over again. So besides ramping with Teval's ability and putting lands on the battlefield from our graveyard, we also have some key ways of ramping out on top of that. We're running Amulet of Vigor. This could also be Spelunking or any other type of effect that basically untaps lands whenever they enter. We've got Malt Tender as well because it mills a card. We can also exile a card from our graveyard to add mana. We've got Farseek Nature's Law and 3 Visits in here as well, which are all fantastic ramp spells, allowing us to get whatever forest or forest island, forest swamp that we need, etc. We've got Skill Profit in this deck as well, taps for black or green, but also we can tap to put the top 2 cards of our library into our graveyard, so we're going to be filling our graveyard even more. And then, as I mentioned, we've got Teval's Judgment. Onto the Reanimation to make sure we can cast everything from our graveyard, not just get our lands back consistently. Altar of the Ball. 2 and a black, tap, exile a creature you control, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. So we exile a creature that we control, we can get rid of one of our 2/2 zombie druids, we don't care about those, get back anything that we need. This is repeatable every turn. We've got Finale of Devastation for that big play. What we're going to do with all this mana we're making, we're going to make Finale of Devastation. And remember, Finale of Devastation can go through our library and our graveyard. So if our graveyard is stacked, it could be just as good target for Finale of Devastation than our library is. Ripples of Undeath is a fantastic card in this deck as well. Beginning of pre-combat main phase, you're going to mill 3, which is what we want to be doing, and then you can pay 1 mana at 3 life to put a card from those into your hand. Love it, triggers Teval. We've got Balaged Recovery, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Eternal Witness, same shenanigans here, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. We've got Kotish Sibchik Champion. In the pre-con, this was the commander or the main commander. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard by exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its mana cost. So you exile 3 things, trigger Teval because something's left your graveyard. You then cast the card, triggering Teval because the creature has left your graveyard. Absolutely fantastic, love it. Conduit of Worlds, as I mentioned before, the tap ability allows us to get those key things back at the critical point. As some of these reanimation effects are on creatures, we can use effects like Conduit of World to get those creatures back to the battlefield and then trigger to get something else back, enabling us to grab more things out of our graveyard. We've got Timeless Witness. Whenever it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So this can be any card, just target card. And then obviously we've got Muldrotha. This is a commander in its own right, but we're using it here for its reanimation ability, so we can cast anything from our graveyard once per turn. So in terms of removal in this deck, we've got Insidious Fungus, Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy, Return to Nature, Beast Within, Singing to Super, Toxic Deluge, Fell the Profane, and Hagra Maulin. Obviously we've got the 3 MDFCs in here, the blue, the black, and the black. They're just fantastic removal spells as well as being lands. Toxic Deluge has seen a price dip recently, but that's a nice board wipe to get included. We've got Beast Within and Assassin's Trophy to hit any target permanent, which is lovely. And also Abrupt Decay can't be countered, destroys target non-land permanent with mana value 3 or less. This is great for getting rid of people's key combos, specific pieces, We've got our Return to Nature. We have also got Insidious Fungus. Obviously, it's a similar type of thing. You can get this back to do it all over again. Fantastic removal suite. Just remember with this, because we're already running 9 pieces of specific removal, one of those being a sweeper, pick your targets carefully. Token generation. So, besides Teval making a bunch of tokens, we've got a lot of the cards that make tokens. Teval's Judgment, we've got Tormod the Desecrator, Zendika's Royale, and Rampaging Baloth. Obviously, Zendika's Royale and Rampaging Baloth all trigger whenever lands enter the battlefield. And then Tormod the Desecrator triggers whenever a card leaves your graveyard, which is exactly what we're doing with Teval. Teval's Judgment also says when a card leaves your graveyard, you can make a 2/2 black zombie token creature do it if you want, or draw a card or create treasure. So how are we winning this game? Finale of Devastation Wonder and Multani Yavimai's Avatar. Multani Yavimai's Avatar is just absolutely massive because it's equal to the amount of lands you control in or out of your graveyard. They have reach, they have trample. Wonder is going to be in our graveyard from all of our self-mill. We've got Finale of Devastation because if X is 10 or more when we cast this, we are ramping pretty hard in this deck. All of our creatures get +X and gain haste until their return. So we can make real good use of all the mana and all the tokens that we are creating from Zendika's Royal, from Rampaging Baloth, from Val, from the Tormod Desecrator, from Teval's Judgment. We're going to make a big board state that's big as well as wide. Right, here we go. We've got 39 lands, 43 including MDFCs. We are a landfall deck. We are running a lot of lands to make sure we can consistently hit our land drops and get to where we are going. Remember, ramp gets us ahead, lands keep us on curve. So, Breeding Pool, Command Tower, Darkmoor Salvage, Deathclap Glade, Dreamroot Cascade, Dryad Armor, Echoing Depths. We've got Evolving Wilds, Fable Passage, Field of the Dead. This is the key one that we are going to 2-4 with our crop rotation and our Rite of the Reliquary at the right point. We've also got Foreboding Landscape. We've got 2 forests, which could easily drop to 1, and then add in another card, which is in the considering section. We've got Hedge Maze, Hinterland Harbour, and Island. We've got Llanowar Waste, Lotus Field, Mystic Rainforest, Morphic Pool, Mystic Sanctuary, Overgrown Tomb, Haluta Delta, Rejuvenated Spring, Strip Mine, Swamp, Takanora's Abandoned Mine, Terramorphic Expanse, Undercity, Sewers. We've got Underground Mortuary, Undergrowth Stadium, Verdant Catacombs, Vesuva. We've got Volrath Stronghold, Watery Grave, Woodland Cemetery, Yavimaya Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, and of course we've got the Zagoth Triome. We are pretty much 1-for-1 land, everything except the forest, which is absolutely fantastic for Field of the Dead. We want to get it out as of when we can trigger it consistently on top of all the other landfall triggers. We mentioned some other key lands we've got in this deck. Vesuva enters the battlefield as a copy of any other land on the battlefield, so we can copy our Field of the Dead. We've got Volrath Stronghold, put a creature card from your graveyard on top of your library, triggering our Teval. We also have Takanora's Abandoned Mine. We can pay 4 mana and we can channel this to mill 3 cards and then return a creature or planeswalker card from our graveyard to our hand. 1 less to activate if you control a legendary creature. We are probably going to control a legendary creature as we cast this, aka Commander. Obviously we've got a Strip Mine, sacrifice, Strip Mine, destroy target land. We can get it back. Lotus Field. When Lotus Field enters the battlefield, tapped, enters, sacrifice 2 of the lands, puts those back in our graveyard. We can then get those back again as well. Field of the Dead obviously is our go-to. Oh, Echoing Depths enters the battlefield, tapped as a copy of any land in a graveyard, except it's a cave in addition to its other type. So if we have our Field of the Dead in the graveyard, we can copy that, then cast our Field of the Dead. Darkmoor Salvage as well. How could I not mention the Dredge land? So looking at some stats for this deck, as you can see, we've got a lovely, lovely curve. I really like the curve of this deck. We've got 1s, 2s, 3s, and then we drop off, so meaning we can cast everything pretty consistently. The average mana value of our deck is 2.93, so this means as soon as we hit our 6 mana, which is just 2 more than what our commander costs, and with the amount of ramp in this deck, that's not going to be difficult to do, we can start double spelling, which means we can hit those multiple spells to get more lands out of our graveyard onto the battlefield in any one turn. Yeah, 20% of our deck is blue, which is covered by 35%, 33% is black, covered by 40%. This one looks off. We've got 70% of the deck as green, covered by 44% of the mana. Don't forget, we are being very picky about what mana we bring back at any one point, and we also have the Yavimaya of Gradle's Growth, turning everything in our deck into forests as well as what they already are. 2% of our deck is colourless, but that's covered by 16% of our lands being able to produce colourless mana, which is absolutely fine. Nice, simple, straightforward. We're going to ramp out, we're going to cast our commander, and then we're going to trigger all those landfall abilities and just make a beautiful, beautiful board state that's so overwhelming it destroys our opponents. Cards to consider. I've got 45 cards here, and that just comes down to where you want to take the deck and how you want to build it and personalize it from here. We've got some more landfall cards with the Iridescent Vine Lasher, the Heart Expedition, Bring Heart Nantuko, Retreat to Coralhelm, which has infinite possibilities, Retreat to Kazandu, and the Undergrowth Champion. More lands into play, we've got Elvish Reclaimer, Shigeki, which is an absolutely fantastic card, and was in my version of the deck for a long time, and then I took it out last minute because I just felt there was a couple of other cards that could slot in better. Crucible of the Worlds, Ancient Green Warden, Perennial Behemoth. They all, Perennial Behemoth I should say, all let us play lands from our graveyard. We've got loot that lets us play additional lands on each turn and look at the top 6 and put something into the battlefield. We've then got Protection Spell with Hydroelectric Specimen. Once again, it's an MDFC, so it's another land, but it also protects our key pieces of our creatures. Fanatic of Ronus is a 1-mana dork that turns into 4 as soon as we cast our commander. Insidious Roots is great if you're doing more of the reanimation for creatures, because this only triggers whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, so just bear that in mind if you're building this type of deck. Harrow is great if you are doing more basics in your deck and not as running as a specific mana base as I have. Reanimation target, Gravecaller. Just, we can loop this instantly because as soon as it comes out of our graveyard, we can sack it to something like a Soul Trader. It'll make a zombie 2/2, and then boom, we've got our loop that can go in and out, in and out, in and out. Lovely jubbly. Makes it the mana of a turn, then we can use that to cast it. Cool. We've got Reanimation Spell, lovely stuff like that. Lost Monarch of the Ifnir for its zombie afflict synergies. We've also got Breach of the Multiverse if we want to start milling other people as well and get stuff into their graveyards, especially if you're going to turn the Hedron Clav on them or play the Altar of the Brood, which is also listed here. More removal spell, Cling to Dust because it has escape. We've got Deathrite Shaman because it exile cards to generate mana. Malekith Rebirth, so whenever a creature dies, it comes back. Got Feed the Swarm, Go for the Throat, just 2 cheap removal spells for black. There's loads of black removal spells that you could run. Springheart Nantuko as well because of the token generation. CDC Brood Tyrant as well. Avenger of Zendikar. The only reason I didn't include Avenger of Zendikar is it's just everybody just plays it Landfall. They just think it's Avenger of Zendikar. It's just, yeah. We don't want to play the stuff that everybody wants. We want to play different stuff. Anyway, altars. Altar of the Brood, Altar of Dementia, Ashnod's Altar, Phyrexian Altar, all fantastic includes. It allows us to use those zombie druid tokens for more mana, for fodder, to fuel other things. Obviously, I'm just using them to make a big board state and then swing out because I like to do combat damage. We've got Agatha's Soul Cauldron and Ghost Vacuum to make more utility of using cards in our graveyard and also graveyard hate for other people, but then obviously synergies with our commander in terms of making 2/2 zombie druids. Snarling Gorehound, I think, is a fantastic include in this deck. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, surveil 1, play a land from your graveyard. It makes a 2/2. You then surveil, you put another card in your graveyard, just enabling you to refill that graveyard consistently. Bristly Bill, the Spine Sower, once again, another landfall trigger if you want to go down the counter route, +1/+1 counters, make everything bigger. Scavenging Ooze, Tiller Titan, whenever a land's into the battlefield under your control, you can untap them. Scavenging Ooze just lets us target stuff into graveyard, so it's graveyard hate for other people, but also synergy for us. Warren Soul Trader is just a fantastic sack outlet. Got Spelunking to make sure our lands enter untapped. Titan's Nest to make sure we can mill at the beginning of every upkeep. And yeah, if you want to remove that extra forest that I spoke about, Drowned Catacomb, Shipwreck Marks, Underground River, whichever one of those you want to do. We've also got Hermit Druid, so if you are going down to those basics and only one basics, you can start to go down here and look at Hermit Druid and combo line for Hermit Druids. And if you want to be an absolute nasty little so-and-so, Guiltleaf Archdruid, whenever you play a Druid spell, you may draw a card. Tap 7 untapped Druids you control, gain control of all lands target player controls. You will upset some people, but you will also win some games, so choose whichever you prefer. Anyway, lots of cards to consider, so many more to consider depending on how you build the deck. So let's see where else we can take this deck. Where can we take this deck from here? Well, it depends, like I mentioned in the considering section, what you want to do with it. If you want to focus more on reanimating creatures, you can obviously go down those lines and use more reanimation type spells. That'll lean into more of your, what I assume is your Golgari reanimation type decks. And you can start to go down those strategies, reanimating the creatures for more and more value. I just personally think that using the lands that Teval is already getting you for free, you might as well just leverage that advantage and get that little bit more synergy out of the card. What else we can do? We can go tutors. You can start using Entomb, anything like that that starts putting specific things into our graveyard and then getting those out. You could use cards like Merrin to then gain experience whenever things die. Using your sack outlets, they go into your graveyard, you can then pull them out. I didn't do that in this deck because I personally think at this level, at bracket 3, the landfall strategy is probably one of the best strategies you can do in terms of power level without going too crazy broken and start using tutors and game-changing cards and things like that. So yeah, This is a very strong deck, still at bracket 3, which is very nice. Obviously, if you want to use tutors, you can start to use fast mana and things like that, and really break this commander and go full throttle into graveyard reanimation. But definitely at that point, you are going to want to utilize all of the tokens as soon as they come into play, giving them haste or sacrificing them for more utility and things like that. But yeah, Field of the Dead is also fantastic in this deck. So making sure you can tutor that with your like crop rotation, right with reliquary and stuff like that is really important. And so get that online as soon as you've got enough lands down. And that's about it. You can really tweak and personalize this deck, adding loads of flavorful cards that you want to go for. I mean, I've seen so many deck techs around this guy so far. I started building this deck before the precons were announced. I've had this deck list going for, what, 3-4 weeks now? So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic commander. It's got loads of value. You will never be short of things to do on your turn. Casting things from graveyards, putting things in graveyards, casting your commander, attacking, swinging out. Absolutely fantastic commander that is an absolute powerhouse. So if you're beyond buying precons and you just want to build a solid deck, just buy the precon commander and build the deck. Like, it's absolutely fantastic. Just the link's down in the description. Click on Mockfield, click playtest. You'll see what I mean. Next week, I have got a video coming out all about Zergo Stormrender and building that deck from scratch. And I'm actually building that deck in paper. I'm trading for all the cards I need right now. So yeah, looking forward to showing that one off to you. If you want to see the pre-con upgrade videos I did, there'll be a whole playlist up there. I also have a giveaway going off. So I'll put a video to the giveaway up here and I'll be stood in the middle somewhere. And yeah, if you want to win some playmats, click on that one. If you want to know how to upgrade the precons, click on that one. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.